and welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. Years ago, I began recording the bedtime stories I told my children every night. Now, I'd like to share those stories with you. I hope you enjoy my Stories for Wonderful Children. There's a little girl named Winella, and she lives in a very special house full of many special rooms. But the most special room of all is Winella's room, because everything in it is pink and blue. The walls are pink and the floor is blue. The bed is blue and the pillow is pink. The cat is pink and the dog is blue. Everything in Winella's room is pink and blue except for one thing. Do you know what that is, girls? That is right. And what color is the ceiling fan light?
Purple!
What color is it?
Purple.
Yes, good. Well, one morning, Winella woke up and she thought that she wanted to do something different today. And she thought about what she could do, and she thought about things she'd never done before. And she decided that one of the things that she had never ever done before was have a friend sleep over for the night. And she thought it would be interesting to do this. So she called her friend next door, whose name was Traci. Traci was Winella's friend next door. She called her and she asked Traci, she said, "Traci, would you like to come sleep over at my house tonight?" And Traci said, "Sure." She said, "But we'll have to get permission from our moms first." And Winella said, "Okay, well, you go talk to your mommy, and I'll talk to my mommy, and we'll see if we can get permission." So Winella went down to her mom, and she said, "Mom, can Traci sleep over tonight?" And her mom said, "Sleep over? You've never had a sleepover before." And Winella said, "I know. I'd really like to have one because I haven't had one before and I think it would be fun." And her mom thought about it for a minute and said, "Okay, I guess it would be okay as long as Traci's mom thinks it's okay." And Winella said, "Okay." So she went next door to Traci's house and she rang the doorbell at Traci's house. And the doorbell at Traci's house makes this sound. It goes, "Oh-ooh-ga." Just like that. It's a very loud doorbell. Even when they're asleep, it wakes them right up. So Winella pressed the button and the doorbell went, "Oh-ooh-ga." And Traci's mom came to the door. And Winella said, "Hi, is Traci here?" And her mom said, "Yes, we were just having a conversation. Traci wants to come over to sleep over at your house tonight." And Winella said, "Can she?" And Traci's mom said, "Well, have you talked to your mommy?" And Winella said, "Yes, I talked to my mommy and she said it would be okay." And Traci's mommy said, "All right, well then I guess it's okay with me. Traci's up in her room packing her things. Go over and spend the night if you want to go up and help her." So Winella went up the stairs and Traci was there. She had her little suitcase.
What does Winella's doorbell sound like?
We'll have to find out in a minute. And Traci had her suitcase. She had a bright pink suitcase, and she was putting things in it. Now, can you girls think of some things that you would need to pack if you were going to stay overnight at someone's house?
Teddy bear.
Teddy bear? What else? What else would you pack? What would you pack?
Baby doll.
A baby doll. What else would you pack?
Sleeping pack.
A sleeping bag? Yeah, that's a good idea.
I said a sleeping pack. A kit from where you can get stuff you might need when you're asleep. An instrument.
An instrument? Okay.
I bet Gracie has to put. I bet her next door neighbor always has to put shoes.
Shoes. That's good.
Ears so that every night so that the doorbell doesn't.
Yeah.
Nightgown.
A nightgown. That's a good idea. You'd need something to sleep in. You'd need shoes to put on the next day. What else would you need?
A pillow.
A pillow, good. What else do you need when you get ready for bed at night?
Blanket.
What do you do before you get in bed?
Let me guess. Tooth.
You need your toothbrush. That's good. So they packed all those things, they found them all, and then Traci zipped up her suitcase, and they carried it downstairs, and Traci gave her mom a hug goodbye and said, "Bye, Mom, I'll be back tomorrow." And she went over to Winella's house. Now, when Winella got there, the door was open, but Winella sort of likes to press the doorbell on her own door, because it's always a surprise. Her doorbell plays tunes, and it never plays the same tune twice. Now, when she pressed it on this particular day, the doorbell went bong, 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 bong. Winella grinned at her, and Traci grinned back. She said, "Wow, where did you get that doorbell?" And Winella said, "It was a gift to me from the music fairies of Treble. They gave it to me after I helped rescue them from the Silence and the Miska Doctor." And Traci said, "Oh."
And they switched it with her doorbell.
Yeah, they installed it for her and everything, because no ordinary doorbell could do that. It takes fairy magic to make a doorbell do that. So Winella and Traci went in, and Traci said, "So where are we going to sleep tonight, Winella? Are we going to sleep in your room?" And Winella said, "Well, we could sleep in my room, or if you wanted to, we could sleep in the playroom." And Traci said, "The playroom? What's the playroom?" And Winella said, "Well, I'll show you." And she went through the dining room. On the other side of the dining room is a big, big room. You have to walk down. It's an enormous room, and you have to walk down a big spiral staircase that goes all the way around the outside of the room, and it spirals down to the floor. And you get to the floor, there, you'd think that a room called the playroom would be full of toys, but it's not. Instead, there are just two big boxes with a button on the front of the box. And Traci said, "Well, what are we going to play with?" And Winella said, "Well, what do you want to play with?" And Traci said, "Well, let me think. Now, if you were Traci, Diana, what would you want to play?"
Was there a hole in the box?
There was a button, and there was a speaker. And what do you think Traci asked to play with? What would you play with if you were Traci? And you could play with anything you wanted.
I would play with...
Yeah, wait.
Fairies.
Okay, that's great. It'll be your turn in just a second. Go ahead, Diana. What would you play with?
A baby doll.
A baby doll. So Winella said, "Well, here, you press the button, and you speak into the box and say what you want." And so Traci spoke into the box and said, "I would like to play with a baby doll." And the box just sat there for a second, and then it began to glow. And as it glowed, it shrank down. And when they looked at it again, the box had shrunk into a baby doll. It had become a baby doll. When they looked at it very closely, they looked at the baby doll's back, and they looked at her bottom. On her bottom, she had the little button and the speaker from the box. And Winella said, "Here." She pressed the button, and she just said, "Box." And the baby doll became a box again. And Traci said, "That is cool." And Winella said, "Yeah, it's fun. It's the playroom. We can play with whatever we want in here." And so Traci said, "Well, let's play soccer." And so Winella pressed the button on one of the two boxes and said, "We'd like to play with a soccer ball and 2 goals, please." And the box glowed, and the glow split into 3, and when the glow faded, there were 2 soccer goals and a ball. And Traci said, "Well, this is great. Are we going to play against each other? It's going to be sort of hard to play soccer just with 2 people." And Winella said, "Well, we'll need somebody to play against." And so she pressed the button on the other box, and she said, "We would like someone to play soccer against." And the other box glowed, and when the glow faded, 2 fairies were standing there. And they said, "Let's play fairy soccer." And Winella and Traci said, "Fairy soccer? How do you play fairy soccer?" And the fairy said, "Well, the ball flies, and you have to fly to kick it." And Winella and Traci looked at each other and they said, "But we can't fly." And the fairy said, "You can't? Oh, how silly of us." And they sprinkled some pixie dust over Winella and Traci, and they said, "Think soccer thoughts." And so they thought about soccer thoughts and about scoring goals, and they floated up into the air, and the ball floated up in the air, and then they played fairy soccer, which is much harder than regular soccer because the ball can not just roll every direction along the ground, it can also roll up and down and bounce off the ceiling and the walls. Needless to say, it was a very wild game of soccer. Traci and Winella ended up winning the game 3 points to 2 points, but it was very close and everyone had a lot of fun. When they were done, they pressed the buttons and said box, box, and the boxes turned back into boxes. And just then, Winella's mommy came to the door and said, "It's time for dinner, girls, before you go back to playing." And so they went upstairs to have dinner. And after dinner, they played other games. But that story will have to wait until tomorrow night.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created, told, and edited today's story. Questions and witty commentary were supplied by my children. The music was composed by Brandon Thompson. If you enjoy the show, please tell someone about it, or leave a review on your podcast provider. Our email is storiesforwonderfulchildren@gmail.com. You can also contact us on Facebook or Twitter. I'll see you next time.